What is up, YouTube? This is T-Quentin1 coming at you with another video, and today I'm going to talk to you about the conclusion of the Star Wars prequels, Revenge of the Sith. Now, both of the previous films were very disappointing to many people, including me, but I actually found Revenge of the Sith to be kind of solid. I'm going to start with the biggest positive, and while this is called the Star Wars prequel trilogy, Revenge of the Sith is the only one that really felt like an origin story. Want to know how the Empire came to power? Watch Revenge of the Sith. What happened to all the Jedi? Watch Revenge of the Sith. How Darth Vader became Darth Vader? Watch Revenge of the Sith. This was also the first Star Wars film to be rated PG-13, and it's definitely a lot more dark and gritty than the first two prequels. And while I don't think that tone is always fitting for Star Wars, it actually really works here. There are some moments of fun levity, but in the second half, this movie goes really dark, and it was actually kind of refreshing. Ewan McGregor is also still really good as Obi-Wan, and his arc in this movie is actually kind of heartbreaking. Maybe the first legitimate emotion I felt for anybody in the prequels up to this point. The score by John Williams is also just great. There are some pretty downtrodden scenes in this movie, and the soundtrack is juxtaposed perfectly to them. Ian McDiarmid is also so good as the Emperor. He was a lot of fun in Return of the Jedi, but we get to see a lot more of him here, and McDiarmid is clearly just having a blast. His enthusiasm for the character is actually pretty infectious. The action scenes, while overblown, are still pretty cool. The final duel between Obi-Wan and Anakin, in particular, was the best action scene in a Star Wars movie up to that point, though Force Awakens has since topped it in my opinion. And it was cool to see some of the elements from the original trilogy, if just for the novelty. For instance, Chewbacca's back in this movie, and that was just cool to see. And finally, the Opera House scene. This is the part of the movie that everyone talks about, and for good reason. This moment is so atmospheric, and for maybe the first time in the prequel trilogy, it expands the Star Wars mythos in a meaningful way. A lot of the shit we find out in the prequel trilogy felt unnecessary, but this scene actually does feel like vital information. We learned that even Palpatine was someone's apprentice, and that this plan began long before even the Phantom Menace. It is the best scene in the movie, in my opinion, and it's got the best music, too. There are some really atmospheric moments, though. There's another scene where Anakin is looking out this window, and it's all silent except for the music, and it's really full of dread. And I didn't see a lot of stuff like that in other Star Wars movies, so it was kind of cool and refreshing. But as I said, there are some flaws. The biggest flaw, though, this whole movie is on a green screen. Now, sometimes that can work. One of my all-time favorite movies is Sin City, but here I just found it tiring. Maybe it's because they don't stylize the environments, maybe it's because of how obvious it looked. Either way, it just really got on my nerves. And as I said in the intro, the movie is bleak, but it has trouble sticking to a tone. There's some dopey comedy, especially in the first half, and it just does not jive well with the stuff later, like children being slaughtered. Hayden Christensen is still not a very good Vader, and that stupid no scene was ridiculous. His dialogue with Padme is still cringy as hell, as is a lot of the other dialogue, and I found the plot was kind of all over the place in the first third. It tries to wrap up a lot of the arcs from the prequels in the beginning, and then sag into being a prologue to the original trilogy by about the midpoint, and I think it was a little sloppy. All in all, I think that Revenge of the Sith does have a lot of the problems that befell the previous two prequels, but I personally found that there were some really strong elements and actually made up for a lot of those problems. So I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. This is T-Quentin1 signing out.